Hello everyone, welcome to Fantasy Showdown presented by Farmers Insurance. I'm Alan Cavana, and this is the show where we help you with your fantasy lineup because we have two great experts with us today. My favorite panel right here. We have NASCAR numbers man Mike Ford. You know him as the Loop Dog. We have Nationwide Series driver Paulie Haraka. How you guys doing?
I'm great. Great, and you'll see why.
Yeah, he's great because, let's go right to the points in Bristol. He won the week. He won it by the slimmest of margins over all my good picks. I lost by ½ a point. That is hard to take, but that's how fantasy scoring goes.
And now for the important part.
Paulie Haraka comes in third. He's finished in the top 3 for 4 straight weeks, which means we have a new leader in the clubhouse for the league points this year. Paulie Haraka now leads over Marty Snyder. I'm still in third, and Mike Ford, the man to my right, is in fourth, but he's coming on strong because, remember, we reset the chase here on Fantasy Showdown, and these two would be tied with chase points for wins. So we have the two top competitors right here going at it. So a lot of good advice coming your way. Guys, we're headed to Atlanta, so I want to know your picks. We start with our fantasy studs for Atlanta. Mike Ford, the floor is yours. Who are you picking as your fantasy stud?
All right, this might be going out a little bit of a limb, but I like Jeff Gordon a lot. He really needs to turn it on, just like last year. He did it last year. I think he's going to do it again. Had a good finish in Bristol. Very good at Atlanta, runner-up and a win the last 2 Atlanta races. Drive ratings over 110 in each of those. I think Jeff Gordon's going to be the man this weekend.
He's going with the homegrown data here, and Jeff Gordon really needs it. Who is your fantasy stud?
Going into the chase, I need a win. I want one more win. I need to set myself apart. So I shook my pit row ball and said, who's going to get me a win? And it spit out this graph. Of everybody, the guy that's projected to get me the highest fantasy points is Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has 6 top 10s in the last 8 races. Kevin Harvick is my fantasy stud for Atlanta.
I hope you see what's going on here, the battle of big data. We have some nerdy Loop Dog stats, and we have nerdy Duke-provided pit row stats. Well, whichever one works for you, because now we're moving on to fantasy duds. This isn't necessarily a bad driver, but a driver who just costs too much money is not going to get you that good finish at Atlanta. Who are you staying away from, Paulie?
I am staying away from Mark Martin, and it's tough. It's a tough situation to plug into a race team that you don't know and just to try and gel with those guys. At Bristol, they hovered around 20th all weekend. They qualified a little bit better, but in the last 9 races at Atlanta, Mark Martin only has 3 top 20s. So Mark Martin is definitely my dud. Too expensive, not going to do you well. Stay away.
Loop Dog, he's bringing all the stats. What are you going to bring us? Who's your fantasy dud?
Well, I think my fantasy dud, he snuck into the top 10 finally, only the 3rd time this season. It's going to be Joey Logano. He's got his boy, Brad Keselowski, chasing him. But Joey Logano, I think the momentum is going to end at Atlanta. Horrible numbers, surprisingly bad numbers since he raced here as a kid. Has a drive rating of 56.5, that ranks outside the top 20. And 4 laps in the top 15 in 3 of the last 4 races. That's unbelievable to me. So you got to sit Joey Logano.
Interesting stuff from a driver that's really kind of hot right now. Now we're moving on to our Farmers Insurance Plan to Perform pick. This is a pick of a driver who's a good value. You know, you have a fantasy budget, so you want a driver who you're going to get for cheap and who's going to give you maybe a top 10, maybe lead some laps, have some fast laps. Paulie Haraka, your Plan to Perform driver.
Yeah, who do you got?
I am going to completely disagree on Joey Logano.
What?
This man, he needs to plan to perform. He has to perform. He has 6 Sprint Cup championships, 4 from Jeff Gordon, 1 from Kurt Busch, and 1 from Brad, breathing down his neck for that last spot to get in the chase. None of them have wins. If Joey Logano is going to have the weekend of his career, it is going to have to be either this weekend or Richmond. Logano is my Plan to Perform pick. The pressure is on him.
So we have a little disagreement. You're staying away. He's going all in. Who's your Plan to Perform pick?
My Plan to Perform pick is another guy who has a little bit of pressure on him. He's looking for a ride next year. Juan Pablo Montoya. Ever since it was announced that he's not coming back to EGR, he's been very good. At Atlanta, very strong. 3 of his last 5 finishes were in the top 10. 3 of those were drive ratings over 100. He'll probably get you a top 15, maybe a top 10.
All right, we have a tough chase coming down in the Cup Series, and we have another one right here. So this is your chance, guys. You going to talk any trash to each other? One of you has to win.
I'm leading the points. I don't. It's all you, Ford.
What do you got?
He has a goatee. I don't. I
No,
lose.
me either. We got the blue shirts, though.
That's true.
I didn't get the memo. Glad we're not the Smurfs.
There you go. Well, those are your picks for the week. Thank you for joining us here on Fantasy Showdown, presented by Farmers Insurance. You can always go to NASCAR.com/fantasy. For Paulie Haraka, for Mike Ford, I'm Alan Cavana. Have a great weekend, everybody.